Greetings, everyone. Pete Pardo here from Sea of Tranquility. Welcome to another episode of Ranking the Albums. And alongside me in the co-captain's chair, Mr. Chris Alo himself.
How's it going, Pete?
Going good. How you doing, man?
Not too bad, not too bad. Thanks for having me on as always.
You got it. We arrived at Danzig finally, right?
Yes, finally. Yeah, we talked about doing this a while ago, and it's an honor and a pleasure as always to do the show with you.
Thank you. Well, and I know it's always fun for you to talk about a band you feel so strongly and deeply about, right? So I know
Absolutely. Yeah, I
Danzig
have
is.
the. Is it this arm? Wait a second. Somewhere I got the. I don't know how to get on camera. Yeah, I got the fucking Danzig skull tattoo. Yeah, I'm a huge fan. For me, this is like one of the hundreds of bands out there that I've liked. This is one of, not the only one, but one of the only ones that like I got in on the first record. Saw them on the first record, and then just been a fan ever since. And got every record when it was brand new. Seen them on every tour. I mean, I think Danzig as a performer, I've seen him over 50 times between Danzig, Misfits, and Samhain. And yet today we're ranking the Danzig albums.
Yeah, it's an interesting band and catalog because it's like they don't really fit into any neat little bucket, right? It's like
Yeah,
it's kind of doomy, gothic, kind of,
yeah,
later on there's industrial stuff going on. And is it metal? Is it hard rock? Is it biker rock? Some
yeah.
of the kind of sounds has this Doors thing going on. It's just like,
Sure. To
you
me,
know,
like the first record, it's kind of like elements of like AC/DC and Sabbath and the Doors and Elvis.
Steppenwolf. And yeah, it's just,
Yeah, and definitely the sound has evolved over time. And of course, after the fourth record is when things really changed because that's when he lost the original members of the band. And to me, Danzig, at least on those first four records, was a band.
yeah, yeah.
And things, without the rest of the band, that's when he could really experiment and do whatever he wanted. Whether that was right or wrong, that's up to the listener, I guess.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. So we're going to be ranking the 10 studio albums. We're not doing the two covers albums, right? There's a couple albums that
Or the
kind of are,
EPs, or yeah.
yeah, yeah, and that whole Elvis thing and whatever. So yeah, so it was 10 studio albums of all original material. So we are going to rank those in order of preference, and I'll let Chris kick. So since we got 10, Chris, why don't we do three at a time so we can get through the list fairly quick? So do your 10, 9, and 8, I guess.
Okay, sure. Number 10, Black Acid Devil. This is the original promo from then. This is the original pressing from Hollywood Records, which was a subsidiary of Disney. And this was the reissue put out, I think, in like 2000. And I believe Danzig just recently reissued it, but I didn't rebuy it because apparently it's just another version of this same exact pressing. But yeah, this was right when Glenn lost Danzig 4. He still had the original band. Danzig 5, Black Acid Devil. He had all new guys in the band, and he just went fucking nuts. It's an industrial techno record. His amazing voice is just fucking drowned in effects. To me, it's just not very good. I think it's the worst of the Danzig records. Some of the songs I think are okay, like Seventh House, Black Acid Devil, but the terrible techno industrial production just ruins it. I mean, I like industrial, like I love Rammstein and Ministry and other bands, Fear Factory, but that's not Danzig, and that's not what I want from a Danzig record. Number 9 is the last Danzig studio record of new material, which is Black Laden Crown. It just never grabbed me. It's a doomy record. It's bluesy. Glenn sings more in the style of the first couple records. His voice is obviously older and shows more wear, which is fine because listen, he is older, but the production on this record sucks. Glenn produced it himself like he did some of the other records, but the problem is because his voice is so worn, but his voice just overpowers all the instruments. When I play this record, that's all I fucking hear. Like when I hear the other records, you can hear the bass, the fucking crushing guitars, and everything is just mixed down, and all I hear is Glenn's vocals, and that's when I can pick out like, wow, he sounds hoarse on here and shitty on here. I like a couple songs, but man, if Glenn's voice wasn't so overpowering, I wouldn't pick it out. Pick out the parts I don't like as much. And then number 8 for me, where the fuck is that one? Okay, here it is. This was an internet only cover, because when this came out, I don't know, I forget what label this was. It says Eva Live, which is obviously Glenn's label. I can't read the rest without my glasses. But this version you could only get through the internet. It's a naked girl on Danzig 666, Satan's Child. I thought there was still too much of an industrial sound, but better than Black Acid Devil. There was a couple songs on here I really like Five Finger Crawl, Unspeakable, and I did like the song 13, which was written for Johnny Cash. And, I didn't say this earlier, but, for me, and I don't say this too much because it's kind of weird to say, but and I know I'm a huge fan, but to me, Glenn Danzig is one of the only guys that I would really, almost consider a musical genius. Cause it's okay, he can sing, he could play bass, he could play drums, keyboards. His songs that he wrote and recorded have been covered by the biggest bands in the world, like Metallica and Guns N' Roses. I mean, he's written songs for Johnny Cash and Roy Orbison. He's done full orchestral albums. The Black Area records that are soundtrack albums without a movie. He's done the metal stuff. He's done the punk stuff with the Misfits. Sam Hain is the gloomy, death rock band in the middle. So I'm wow, this is one of those few guys that I'm wow, this guy's fucking done it all. I mean, what a career. So yeah, that's my side rant on Glenn Danzig.
Yeah, I think for me, the bottom 3 in this catalog, there's some moments on a couple of them, but for me, everything kind of above that is, to me anyway, really enjoyable. It's pretty damn great. My number 10 is Black Acid Devil from '96. To me, this album is unlistenable. I'm not an industrial guy either. This to me is a shock to the system when you go from those first 4 albums to this. It's what the hell? First, he's wailing all over these electronic beats and synths and techno stuff, and it doesn't even sound like him. He's got so much effects drowning out his vocals. I mean, there's a couple songs on here that I think, if it wasn't for all those elements, could be pretty good. See You All Where is pretty good. Sacrifice, Hint of Her Blood, I think could have been really good songs if they were done like a normal Danzig song or album. But this to me is a total mess of an album, and this to me is really the only complete misfire in this whole catalog.
Yeah, I would completely agree.
Yeah, right. It's not even close.
Yeah,
there's this one and there's everything else, right?
100%.
My number 9, I'm gonna go with Death Rat Sabbath from 2010, the 9th album. I think there's good stuff on this album. I think it starts off really good. Hammer the Gods is a great track. The Revengeful, really heavy. Black Candy is also really good. I find some of the rest of the album kind of plodding and not all that interested in it. Just doesn't get my juices flowing, for lack of a better term, as some of the other stuff. But it's not a bad album. It's half of it's pretty good. The other half, I'm not crazy about, but not terrible by any means. And number 8, I'm going to go with Black Laden Crown from 2017, the last one. You are 100% correct. It sounds like it was recorded in a barn.
Yeah.
And it's a real shame because I think the album overall has some really good songs, and it actually is, it's the way, the songs are arranged. It's a pretty heavy album, but it sounds like total shit. Totally. I mean, all you hear is him, and then you're hearing all these really cool guitar riffs and things going on underneath. I'm I want to hear more of that. Yeah. I mean, Devil on Highway 9 is great. Eyes Ripping Fire, Skull and Daisies is great. Blackness Falls, the title track. And I think the way the songs are arranged, it's he's really trying to recapture the original Danzig band. And I think he kind of does that, but the album sounds terrible. Yeah. So that's why for me, it's, I like the songs, but the production is so god awful, it's got to be where it's at. So that's number 8 for me.
Yeah, I think if he would have had an actual producer,
Yeah,
it would have that could have got that sound from him. But he's one of these guys now. He's just been doing it so long. He's like, hey, what do I got to spend money on a producer for? I could do it myself.
yeah,
Of course,
yeah.
you don't get the same results because there's nobody saying, hey, this sounds like shit. Do this take again. No, these vocals sound terrible. So, yeah. But, yeah, all right. So, my number 7, I have 3 copies of 777 E Luciferi. This one, is it this one? Nope. This one? Yeah. This one I have is autographed. The other 2 are not. But I like this record. Most of the sound effects, most of the industrial stuff is gone. There's a little bit of the industrial, but it was like 5 and then 6 he was drawing it back, and 7 it was like he didn't want to totally give it up, but there's just a little bit of it. But I think there's some really good material on here. Like I like Black Mass. The original title of this record was Kiss the Skull. And then he changed it, but I really like Kiss the Skull. The song Angel Blake is off of the character from Blood on Satan's Claw that I know Pete and I like. So yeah, I think number 7. That's a pretty good record. Let's see, number 6. I really like this record, Circle of Snakes. This is a much simpler, more stripped down sound. Glenn's vocals do not overpower the instruments. Again, this one was produced by Glenn, which is so crazy if you compare this production to, say, Black Laden Crown. I interviewed Glenn. I've been lucky enough to interview Glenn Danzig like 4 times. When I interviewed Glenn about this, I remember talking to him about the heavy guitar tone that he got from Tommy Victor from Prong, who plays guitar on here. And I told Glenn that I thought Tommy Victor's guitar sounded like a battle axe being scraped across concrete. And he thought that was really funny. I really like Skin Carver,
Yeah.
Circle of Snakes, Thousand Devils Reign, Black Angel, White Angel, When We Were Dead. I mean, there's some really good stuff on here. And to me, it's a real step forward from some of the other records. Number 5 for me is Death Red Sabaoth. I remember, but this ties in with what you said, Pete. When I first got this record, I did not like it. I don't know what it was, but I didn't like it. And I listened to it a bunch of times, and I talked to other people in the industry, other writers and publicists, because everybody knew I was a huge Danzig fan. And they were like, dude, what did you think? And I'm like, I don't like it. And everybody was like, yeah. And then I did get the chance to interview Glenn for this record. And yes, I lied to Glenn Danzig. I told him I liked the record.
I
really didn't. I don't know what happened. I guess in between the interview and, of course, like I said, I've seen Danzig on every tour multiple times, but I kept listening to the record for some reason, probably because everybody was shocked that I didn't like it. And eventually I started to like it. It's got an old school 70s sound to the record. I remember I told Glenn that I really liked the cover because it reminded me either of like a Hammer horror movie poster or like a copy of like Creepy or Eerie from the 70s. And he said that from what I remember, like he tried to capture that early organic 70s sound. He had a whole bunch of equipment that he had to go buy to get that sound again because he produced the record. And this is the Digipack version, which I think is out of print now. Because like just this on CD, like I saw it on eBay going, some of them were like $50. But this is the super limited urn version. So an urn, of course, is you put ashes in it. And I remember, even though I didn't like the record, I bought it anyway at the time. And I remember when I interviewed Glenn, I told him I got this. And he was like, wow. He's like, I don't even have one of those. And it was not, it was, I think there's a number. It's numbered somewhere. I mean, it says here, it's got the Danzig skull on the top. They only made 666 of these. And
Wow, of course.
it came like an autographed poster. It came with a 7-inch single for On a Wicked Night, which was autographed, and a whole bunch of other shit. Although the ironic thing is, all the stuff it came with, none of it fits in the urn.
Of course not.
So I've got this empty urn
and all this other stuff
all over. But I really like this record. Like, I fell in love with it. Hammer of the Gods, The Revengeful, On a Wicked Night. Yeah, but I went from completely disliking it to being like, holy shit, this is the best record, other than the original 4. And then my number 4 is Danzig 3, How the Gods Kill. This is the regular version, and this was probably the dumbest re-release of an album I've ever seen. They put they re-released the album like 6 months later in this like stupid 3D plastic cover.
I remember that.
It came with the same album, but I think there's just a different cover on the inside, and there's a VHS tape that has like 2 versions of the video for How the Gods Kill. I think one of them has like boobs in it or something. It was a total waste of money, but being a huge fan, I had to get it. It's definitely tonally a shift from the first 2 records. It's way more doomy, way more gothic sounding. I like it, just not as much as the other 3. Some of my favorite songs, I do really like Anything, Dirty Black Summer, and Left Hand Black. And I think it's good, but not my favorite.
I hear it. All right, my number 7 is Circle of Snakes, 2004. Yeah, I mean, I love Tommy's guitar riffs on the album. I think it sounds really heavy. I notice what's interesting, you listen to the production of this album as compared to the other one that Glenn produced, which we were shitting on before, the most recent one.
Right.
And I think this is a very dry production, but it's okay sounding. It works. And there's some killer songs on here. Hell Mask is great. When We Were Dead is great. 1,000 Devil Rain is awesome. Skin Carver is an incredible song. I mean, really, really good. That could have come off the first couple albums, I think. So I really like that one a lot.
He used that as an opening track for years and years. In concert. In
concert, yeah, great song. Great song. My number 6 is 666 Satan's Child. I like that one quite a bit. And in fact, on this album, I don't mind some of the industrial stuff because the guitars are back. Whereas on the other album that we crapped all over, there's like no guitar in that album. The guitars are there, all the industrial elements and the synths and all the electronic beats are still there, but the guitars sound absolutely huge on there. I think Five Finger Crawl is a great track. I think, anybody who likes Ram Zombie would love that. Belly of the Beast is pretty heavy. Lilin is doomy. Unspeakable is lots of fun. I think Cult Without a Name just crushes. Fire Mass is really good. Satan's Child, Apocalypse is terrific. It's amazing that this follows a crappy album like Black Acid Devil. I think this one uses the industrial elements to its fullest, and it really works here, whereas that other album does not work for me at all. So that's my number 6. Number 5, this might be a little controversial for some, but I'm going to go with Danzig 4 as my number 5. So it's still the original band. Rick Rubin still producing, still has the classic lineup. There's some great songs on here. Brand New God, terrific. Kind of sounds like Motorhead, almost really grimy. Little Whip, love Little Whip. Classic song from them. One of my favorite Danzig tunes. Can't Speak is excellent. I like that kind of slow build to that. Really good. Going Down to Die. I don't really like when he does the croony type thing. That's, I know a lot of people dig that. He's got a voice for it, but it kind of kills the momentum on this album a little bit. Dominion is really good. Sadistical, I think, kind of foreshadows where he's going to go on the next album a little bit. I Don't Mind the Pain is pretty good. Stalker song is good. I don't know. I really love some of the songs on this album, and then there are a couple songs that don't really do anything for me, and I think that's why I have this down a little lower. This used to be in my top four, and revisiting these albums again, it slipped just ever so slightly. But number 5 is not bad. So, and then so you went to number 4 on yours, right? So yeah, I'll go 4. I'll go with believe it or not, I Luciferi,
Nice.
which to me was a return to the darker gothic doomy stuff that he did on the early albums. I think Black Mass is terrific. Wicked Pussycat, Beaver Skull.
I was looking for it. I'm like, oh, here it is.
Cool. You want to sell me one of those? Because I actually
I just gave you one.
Yeah. Okay. I was going to go buy it because some of these I don't have physical copies of.
I'll just give you this next time I see you.
Okay. Sounds good. I'll take it off my Amazon cart. Yeah. Kiss the Skull is terrific. To me, I think this album gets them back to doing what they do best, even with a different lineup. It's just great, dark, doomy, gothic, heavy metal. So I Luciferi, my number 4.
Nice. And not to go back to Black Acid Devil, but there has been a theory for all these years that the reason he took the band in that direction was because, and listen, I've only interviewed him a couple times and I could never ask this question, but the rumor has been that he literally was sort of self-sabotaging his career because Danzig blew up with the EP Demon Sweat Live, which was in between 3 and 4, and there was huge expectations for 4, and then it did okay, but it didn't do as well as the EP did, and then there was big expectations for Hollywood Records, which was, the subsidiary of Disney, and yeah, the rumor was that he was like, he did not want to be a huge arena band, he wanted to keep it a smaller theater act, I guess, so he could, have more control over everything and not have record labels and managers and whoever else. So whether that's true or not, who knows? He's a very talented guy, but he's a bit of a strange guy at the same time too. So who knows? But just throwing that out there. But all right, so my number 3 is I don't have it, but Pete just showed it. Danzig 4. I have the earlier pressing, which I had in my garage an hour ago, and I left it there. But that pressing is like a gatefold. It's like cardboard, and they made a big deal about that. It's Danzig, sometimes referred to as Danzig 4P, because it's like I forget what it is. It's some kind of cult thing that some kind of cult that was involved in assassinations of famous people. Who knows? It's definitely more experimental than the first 3 records. A lot of different sounds and tones on it. This is where the industrial sort of sounds and effects just start to creep in. And for me, it was really close between 3 and 4. I think I just like some of the songs on 4 better. Songs like Going Down to Die, Until You Call on the Dark, Bringer of Death, I Don't Mind the Pain. I think overall, I just like songs better on part 4, Danzig 4. And yeah, the unfortunate thing, this was definitely the end of the original band.
Yep.
Oh, okay. And then my last 2. Number 2, Danzig Lucifuge. Definitely much more of a blues influence and a southern influence on this record than the first record. I think both of the first 2 records are great, but man, I do absolutely love this record. I mean, some of the songs on here are classics, like Long Way Back from Hell, Snakes of Christ, Her Black Wings, Devil's Plaything, but there is a couple songs that I always skip. I never liked Blood and Tears, and I just don't like Girl. And I remember I dated a girl when this came out, and she would always say that Girl was very similar to a Doors song. I'm not that big of a Doors fan, so I don't know which one it was. This is the original pressing, so I don't know if they still have this, but I don't think they do, but it folds out to be a big upside down cross. And I have this on a shirt somewhere from 1990. So I don't know if they still do it.
Yeah, mine is that too. Yeah, I bought this.
Okay, cool. I guess they still do.
Yeah.
Are these records even still in print? The first couple, I don't even know. Oh, so it folds out too to the cross.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, that is a very cool packaging design. I'm sure that cost some extra money. And my favorite Danzig record, which I unfortunately can't find, is Danzig 1. It was definitely, yep, there you go. I have it somewhere in the collection. I love it. It's one of my most played records. Definitely one of my, they used to do the thing in Rolling Stone, right? Desert Island Discs. And yeah, if I had it, could only take one, of the Danzig records, that would be the one. But with Twisted Cane and Possession and so many great songs, I just love that record.
Very accessible album, I think.
Excuse me. And I was showing this to Pete. I even found I have 2 copies of the 1987, 1988 Danzig demos, which have a lot of early versions of the songs that are on Danzig 1. But I'm pissed off that I can't find Danzig 1. I'm like,
It'll show up somewhere. If not,
I'm not looking for it.
If not, you should get worried, right?
Yeah, for sure. I'm like, I can't have a hole in the collection. You know that.
No, definitely cannot. All right, my number 3 is Danzig 2 Lucifuge. For all the reasons you said. Great stuff. Rick Rubin producing. Love the sound of it. I think for me, this album on the production side has a little bit more balls than the first album.
Yes.
First album again, a little cleaner,
very
stripped down sound. But you're absolutely right. I think there's a little like kind of bluesy, doomy thing coming in here, like a 60s heavy rock, proto metal type of thing. A lot of great songs. I mean, Long Way Back from Hell is great. Snakes of Christ is great. It's a classic song. Killer Wolf is awesome. Tired of Being Alive. A lot of really good songs on here. Maybe it's a little too bluesy in spots, and maybe that's why it ranks a little lower for me. But I think it's very, very strong album. And my number 2 is Danzig 1, debut album. To me, it's a fun blend of like Black Sabbath and The Doors. Yeah, I love both bands. So, you mentioned Twisted Cane, great groove, evil riffing on that. Not of This World is good. She Rides, Soul on Fire. There's some like AC/DC kind of moments going on in this album too, I think, as well. The Hunter is a great cover of an old blues classic, so good stuff on here. I think if this album had the guitars had a little more balls to the production, I think this would probably be my number 1, because I agree with, I think some of the best songs are on this one, overall top to bottom. It's a great album. And my number 1 has been my number 1 for many, many years, and that's Danzig 3, How the Gods Kill. I listened to this a ton when it came out in 1992. I agree with you 100%. I think the production and the style of the songs is way doomier and heavier than some of the other albums. And I think some of John Christ's best riffs are on this album. Godless is terrific. I mean, Bodies, man, that riff, I'm hearing it in my head right now, and I'm like, I love it. John Christ just kills on this. Glenn's wailing vocals is great on here. Dirty Black Summer is great. Left Hand Black is great. Heart of the Devil. Man, Do You Wear the Mark? Kicks ass. I love it. And it's got an H.R. Geiger cover. And that also has a lot to do with it, right? That's just adds to it. I love the production. It's heavy, some great songs on it. So that's my number 1. But, if we have anybody watching this show, for me, I would say easy. If you want somewhere to start with this band, the first 4 are probably your best bets, but there are other pretty strong albums in this catalog as well. I don't know if you add anything to that.
I would completely agree, Pete. I mean, if it's 10 studio records. If you can't afford 10, the 4 to get are the first 4. And there are a ton of people that number 3 is their favorite record. I mean, I interviewed Eerie Von, formerly from Samhain and Danzig, and he absolutely said, without question, his favorite Danzig record was Danzig 3. He felt that was the band at their peak. They did 3 quick records, 3 records in a row, and toured their asses off for all 3. He's like, they were a well-oiled machine. And when it wasn't until 4 when the problem started. So he's like, 3 was our peak, 3 was our best record. And it's hard to argue with the guy that's on
the plate, right? Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, I was always amazed. I really thought, Mother did very well for them here.
Yeah.
And I was always kind of surprised that this band kind of peaked at a certain level and never really went
Broke out.
above
Yeah.
that. Yeah, I don't know what it was. Maybe the music's too dark, or maybe it was a little too late by then. I mean, you have to wonder if like Danzig would have released some of these albums in like the mid late '80s, if we'd be talking a different story right now. Like because the first album was what, '88, right? And they
Right.
really started to break a little bit in the early '90s, and then grunge and alternative is all the rage, and then this kind of music's kind of like forgotten a little bit. So you have to wonder if like they came out like 3 years before they actually did, we'd be talking different story today. I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, it's tough, like with a lot of things, timing is everything.
Yeah.
And yeah, you certainly could be right because, as big as they were, they still never got out of that, at least not on the East Coast. They never headlined arenas. I know Glenn did do some arena sized shows as Danzig. And of course, now on the regular, he does arenas with the Misfits,
Yeah.
which is crazy to think of. But yeah, it is interesting to see that. Wow, I wrote like God, I can't think of the name, but there's like it's like a like Kiss 107 or something, which was like a disco station. Mother was so popular. Somebody told me, dude, I heard Mother on like Kiss 105 or whatever the fuck the big New York City discos, and it was there. That's how big it was. It was on the video was on MTV, and the irony is the song was on the first record, but it didn't blow up until the
The live album.
Danzig EP, the
Yeah.
live out, the live
Yeah.
EP. So, but yeah, they never blew up past that stage. And again, there was that rumor of did he self sabotage with Danzig 5? Who knows? Was it self sabotage? Did he just want to go in this weird new direction because he had a whole new band and now nobody was going to give him shit because they were all literally hired hands?
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, the industrial stuff was starting to hit that around that time anyway. So
Yeah.
maybe he was just like, let's just do this, right? But
And luckily for him, he did kind of ride that wave in the 90s when, okay, like Judas Priest and Iron Maiden were corny and dead as shit. But you had those other bands that were metal, but also sort of lumped in with alternative. So you had like Danzig and Typo Negative and White Zombie and Pantera that were
yeah,
just above. They weren't the old bands, they weren't Pearl Jam and Soundgarden, but they all had that run of a couple years. So yeah, who knows if he would have come out a little earlier, maybe he wouldn't have done it. But hey, listen, all these years later, he's still going.
yeah, there you have it. So has there been any news about him doing another one at some point? I mean, it's been a few years.
I haven't heard anything about a new studio record from him, other than there's a possibility of another Danzig Sings Elvis cover record, and he is doing Danzig Sings Elvis shows where he does only Danzig covers. And I wasn't thrilled with the covers record myself, the Elvis covers. But he's offsetting that with Misfit shows.
Yeah, and
He's
that's a
got
big draw.
three. Yeah, he's got three Misfit shows this year lined up, and I'm seeing my ninth Misfits reunion show at the place in Newark. What's it? Prudential Center,
Eventually, yeah.
which is what, like, is that like a 14,000 seat arena? I think.
I was gonna say about 15, yeah, something like
Yeah,
that.
and I mean, the last time they came in this area, they sold out Madison Square Garden. I mean, that's nuts.
Yeah.
Because the biggest the Misfits were, and I know I've said this before. Now I'm pulling a Dan from the warehouse and getting on a tangent. But I've said that the Misfits reunion to me has got to be the biggest reunion in the history of rock from where they originally went. Because when the Misfits broke up in '83, the biggest they played was like the Irving Plaza in New York City. And now they're selling out Madison Square Garden.
Yeah, go figure, right? Their legend has grown, right, over the years. Yeah.
I mean, that's crazy. That's crazy to think. But, God bless them. And I love the Misfits. That's a whole nother ball of wax. But yeah, it's crazy to think that this band, is still at that club theater level. And You know, he's able to do arenas whenever they feel like it. And it's
Yeah.
also the strangest reunion ever because he only does like 1 gig a year, 2 gigs a year, 3 gigs a year, which I guess is a way of stretching it. Because if you just did a whole one full tour, it would be over, and you would lose the lose the appeal.
Yeah, just do select shows, do them every so often. And
That's it.
yeah. Oh, well. So there you have it, everybody. Ranking the Danzig catalog. So if you are a fan, let us know how you would rank these albums down in the comments below. If you've never listened to Danzig, well, I think we've given you some information here that hopefully you can go pick out some albums to listen to and see if this is for you, right? So
Don't
again,
start with Black Acid Devil.
no, don't start with Black Acid Devil. Definitely not. I want to thank Chris for joining me here on this episode
Absolutely, Pete.
of
Thanks for
Ranking the
having me.
Albums, and hopefully you guys enjoy the rest of your Sunday. Visit us on the web at www.seatranquility.org. We're on Facebook, we're on YouTube, all together, all the damn time. Please subscribe if you haven't already, and click on that notification bell so you get alert of all of our content as it posts. And please do hit the like button before you leave, and tune in next Sunday for another Ranking the Album show. For Chris Alo, I'm Pete Pardo. Have a good rest of the weekend, everybody, and we'll see you on Tuesday in the Proxy. Take care, everybody.